In this video, we're going to take an in-depth look at the compact and powerful Quantum 225, the hardware, the software, and the special features that we provide with our quantum processing. But first, let's just catch up a little on who we are and where we've come from. Designed and manufactured in the UK, DiGiCo is the market leader for live touring, theatre, and fixed install digital audio mixing consoles. With more than 20 years experience designing consoles and continuing from the soundtracks era, DiGiCo has been leading the way since 2002, revolutionising the digital live console market with the D5, redefining the platform in 2007 with the SD7, and then taking a massive leap forward in 2018 with the Quantum 7 and the start of the Quantum range of consoles. With huge market penetration and essential for the live touring and entertainment sectors, users can pick up DiGiCo consoles everywhere. We are the brand of choice for many of the world's leading acts and engineers. Ultimately, this makes DiGiCo rider-friendly, and investing in our consoles makes commercial sense. Beyond the live touring market, where we hold the enviable position of being the top console choice, DiGiCo dominates the theatre market, holding more than 70% of West End and Broadway shows. And we're found regularly at the front of TV studio sound for the world's largest live-to-air TV events, the Olympics, the Oscars, the Grammys, the Super Bowl. All of this adds up to DiGiCo being the industry standard. This leading market position is backed up by the best support in the industry. Our relationships with our user base, our fast response to all support issues, the ability for our support engineers to talk directly to R&D. It all adds up to a service that users can rely on, knowing they'll get all the help they need exactly when they need it. Our support and manufacturing is all based in the UK, meaning we are able to react quickly, dispatching parts and spares at a moment's notice. We even print the support contact phone number on the back of every console. Ultimately, things can always go wrong, but it's how you deal with it that makes the difference. So let's talk about our technology and what makes DiGiCo so special. In 2007, the SD7 paved the way for new technology for audio consoles. The use of an FPGA, that's a field programmable gate array, essentially a reprogrammable chip built of programmable blocks, gave us the opportunity to provide users with a dramatic increase in channel processing count over previous fixed DSP-based systems, and deliver a unique set of native tools that don't rely on add-on external processing systems. As opposed to traditional DSP-based engines, the FPGA solution is much more of a development platform. And since 2007, we've proven our commitment to this to our user base by releasing upgrades and updates that push the boundaries of our processing, adding features and functions as a direct response to market demands. Additionally, the single-chip FPGA processing design inherently improved reliability. Single-board designs, less interconnects, lower power consumption, simpler maintenance, all benefits that make for a better user experience. Our continuous development allows us to stay relevant in fast-changing markets while continuing to offer huge returns on investment and product longevity. The Quantum 225 comes equipped with our Quantum Live software. Years of software development and user engagement have allowed us to develop a rich set of features for live mixing, and the Quantum tools enhance this even further. And for the work surface and the GUI, we've spent years refining our designs. With each console, we listen, learn, and strive to improve wherever we can. You'll find a common design and interface across the whole range. No need to learn a new console, it's all logically presented with easy-to-understand analog-style workflows. The use of RGB coloured encoders that guide you to the right controls, hidden till lit indicators that only show when needed, and full analog-style channel strips that are intuitive to use. This common theme extends to the session files too. Our conversion software allows for easy translation of sessions between console models both up and down. You might be touring on a Quantum 225 but need to load your session onto a Quantum 338 or an SD12 for a single gig. No problem. Load your session into the converter, choose exactly which resources to keep, and simply save as a new file. Let's now take a look at the features and benefits of DiGiCo's quantum processing. The power of the quantum FPGA engine allowed the DiGiCo engineers to add more channel processing options. Utilizing multiple FPGAs linked by high-speed busing, these new processors are available in addition to all the usual channel options. Mustard processing adds a choice of boutique-styled model compressors, an alternative parametric EQ with all-pass filters, and additional tube preamp modeling. We're not using any effect slots for these, and Mustard processing doesn't eat into any other resources you have. Having these options on board has several distinct advantages to using external DSP add-ons. With less connections, there's less to go wrong, there's fewer points of failure. And latency is lower, since all of the processing happens natively on the desk. Ultimately, it's a more cost-effective solution. Mustard offers creative tools that our user base has asked for: optical, VCA and FET compressors. The optical compressor sounds great on drums. The VCA compressor is fantastically clean and works well on a wide range of instruments. And the FET compressor is great on buses. And all of these Mustard compressors include a mix control, so it's easy to use parallel compression techniques without using up more of your channel resources. The Mustard EQ offers an extra 4 bands of parametric EQ, with 2 of the bands switchable to be all-pass filters. These specialist tools adjust phase at a given frequency rather than level, and can help combat timing and phase differences that muddy the sound. Quantum's nodal processing redefines the toolset for mixing monitors and is unique to DiGiCo Quantum consoles, giving the ability to attach a channel of DiGiCo processing to an individual aux send on a channel. The processing includes our 4-band parametric EQ with dynamic EQ available on all bands and our dual dynamics module, including multiband dynamics. But why would you want this? When building monitor mixers or mixing both monitors and front of house on the same console, there's often the need to process inputs differently for different mixers. 2 musicians in a band might want, for example, the lead guitar to sound different. Traditionally, this would mean double routing the input into 2 channels, processing them differently, different EQ or dynamics, then building the mixers from there. This obviously uses up additional input channel resources and makes the workflow more complicated. Nodal processing removes this need to double up. By attaching separate processing to individual aux sends, a simple input can be manipulated in any number of ways according to the mix needs. Your lead guitar can now have a different EQ and dynamics for every aux send off the channel, and you still have your full channel processing available should you need it. As an extension of our tools for monitor engineers, True Solo further enhances the workflow. Normally, when you solo an input channel, you hear that signal in the solo bus, but what you don't get is any of the output processing, any of the EQ or dynamics that is on the aux master. With Quantum's True Solo, when you solo the input, you can choose which output bus processing you want to apply to the solo bus, whether it be auxes, groups or matrices. Now you get to hear everything exactly as the artist does. The Quantum Spice Rack is another extra resource and provides you with a plug-in style rack that you can insert anywhere on the desk. Spice Rack hosts premium DiGiCo plugins, and the first of the plugins released was the Chili 6. It's a 6-band dynamic processor, and while there are plenty of alternative add-ons that achieve the same result, there are some inherent advantages to having it all on board. Lower latency, more reliable, again due to the lack of extra physical connections to plumb it in, and more advanced control over the parameters. Spice Rack controls can be mapped to the console faders, giving tactile control over multiple parameters simultaneously. Chili 6 is an essential tool, perfect on drum buses or for getting control over instruments with wide dynamic range. Naga 6, the latest Spice Rack module, builds on the success of Chili 6. Providing users with a multi-band dynamic EQ with 6 freely assignable parametric bands. And just like Chili 6, Naga 6 can be inserted to any channel on the console. While Chili 6 and Naga 6 are both 6-band dynamic processors, they offer users 2 different approaches to dynamically controlling frequency-specific gain. Spice Rack again builds on the DiGiCo ethos of continuous development, building tools and features which engineers have asked for. Having multiple instances of these plug-in style processors available natively on the console makes perfect sense. It simplifies and enhances the already powerful workflow we're known for. Beyond these special processing features, all Quantum engines have I/O expandability with DMI card options. These DiGiCo multi-channel interface cards bring a range of additional supported formats to the platform, allowing for improved, wider system integration. From Dante and MADI, Wave SoundGrid, Calrec Hydra 2 to AMM Automix cards and AES, the DMI options give you the connectivity you need. Before we look at the capabilities and the software of the Quantum 225, let's take a look at the rest of the hardware. Like all DiGiCo consoles, the Quantum 225 Surface is a complete mixer. All of the processing is in the Surface and offers local connectivity as standard. Starting with the back of the console, there are dual redundant power supplies. We have 8 mic line in, 8 line out, and 4 ASIO, MIDI and GPIO connections plus word clock. And then we have the main I/O connections. The Quantum 225 provides 4 MADI ports. At 48K, these are configurable as 4 independent ports or 2 redundant ports. And at 96K, the ports are combined to provide 2 full MADI connections. Usually these MADI ports are used to connect MADI recording devices, like the DigiGrid MGB or MGR. But the AES-10 MADI spec is widely supported by many manufacturers, so they provide a simple, robust, multi-channel interface for connecting additional kit. The console also features a built-in USB audio interface that provides 48 channels of I/O, perfect for connecting your computer for simple multi-track recording and playback. Our main stage rack connection is via an optional loop-based optical fiber connection. This optical loop is an ultra-low latency, fully redundant, self-clocking high channel count format that supports up to 14 stage racks and 5 redundant consoles per loop. For larger installations and event, the Quantum 225 supports 2 loops, allowing up to 28 stage racks to be connected. We offer a choice of connections, from touring-grade mil-spec expanded beam HMA connections to ST and optical COM connector formats. And for installation and broadcast applications, our fiber loop can be integrated with an optical Route 66 auto router, transforming it into a star network configuration. And finally, on the back, the engine contains 2 DMI slots, each offering up to 64 by 64 audio connections. On the front of the Surface, we have a large, high-brightness 17-inch capacitive touchscreen, 25 faders with 12 faders per bank, 41 individual TFT displays, headphone output, an integrated dimmable light bar, and an integrated dimmable keyboard light bar. The screen is accompanied by an analog-style set of channel controls, and the whole Surface is enhanced by the RGB encoder LEDs. These surface cues change to reflect the selected controls on screen, providing immediate and clear indication of the assigned controls. The Surface is further enhanced by TFT displays used for macros, rotary encoder assignment, snapshot display, fader banks and layers, and every fader has its own TFT display showing channel information and metering. The screen can also be switched to display either the left or right channels, providing full channel visual monitoring right in front of you. When channels are displayed on screen, you'll also see a meter bridge at the top of the screen, and on-screen quick select buttons for fast reassignment of the under-screen rotaries. On the right-hand side of the upper work surface, you'll find the dedicated solo controls, snapshot automation controls, and the LCD macro buttons. The ability to custom label and choose the color of the macro buttons helps you build your workflow functions exactly as you need them. The macro system itself provides the ability to build multi-level functions into a single button press, from saving your session, bypassing inserts on selected channel, or switching the audio paths between live stage inputs and virtual soundtrack. Our macro functions are much more than single function user assignable keys. The Quantum 225 also features our unique mounting bracket. This mounting bracket allows customization of the upper left work surface and has both adjustable angle and height. Utilizing standard Visa mount sizing, you could mount a Klang controller for immersive control, or a laptop script tray for creative control. Or you could use the bracket to add a second screen to the console. This screen could be connected to an external piece of equipment, be your console overview screen, or display the console channel screen for your left surface, transforming the Quantum 225 into a dual screen console. Finally, on the hardware, a word about our rack options. We have a number of remote stage racks which connect up to the console surface, including two 6U quantum rack options. The MQ and DQ racks share the same audio connectivity as each other, but offer alternative connectivity to the console. The MQ rack retains our traditional MADI connectivity, while the DQ rack adds native Dante support. For many corporate and installation applications, this Dante connectivity is essential, and with the DQ rack, the DiGiCo ecosystem is opened up to more markets and opportunities. From an audio perspective, the MQ and DQ racks offer a more fixed I/O configuration, with 48 microline inputs and up to 28 outputs. The 24 physical output sockets are primarily analog, and 4 of the mono analog outputs can be switched to AES, providing 4 two-channel digital outputs. This switching of output format is fully controlled from the console and can be easily reconfigured as needed. The modular SD racks come in 3 sizes, allowing for flexibility in I/O count and positioning. The SD rack, SD Mini and SD Nano racks support the same 8-channel card options, and with a range of options available, you can populate them to give you all the connectivity you need exactly where you need it. The premium option for the SD rack is the 32-bit AD and DA cards. Converting at 32-bit resolution gives us market-leading performance, a significantly improved noise floor, and ultra-fast conversion that cuts latency by 20%. For applications where lots of mics are open, for example, classical or orchestral reinforcement where more gain is needed, these blue-faced 32-bit cards can make a huge difference. And combined with the 40-bit floating point SD engine and massive internal dynamic range that the console offers, the DiGiCo SD and quantum performance stands above other manufacturers in the live space. We've now had an overview of the hardware. So let's run through the software and look at the way we build sessions and all the standard processing options we give you on DiGiCo. SD and quantum consoles don't force you into a fixed session structure. Each time you start a session, you get to choose how to configure and build your session, how many inputs, aux, groups and matrices you need. This flexibility allows the platform to easily adapt to a wide range of tasks. No 2 gigs are the same, so it's essential that you have the ability to design your own console structure to meet the unique requirements of each gig. And since we're on a Quantum 225, we have 72 input channels available, plus 36 buses, a 12x12 crosspoint matrix, a dedicated master bus that's configurable between stereo and LCR, plus a suite of internal effects, and of course plenty of control groups and graphic EQs. And we get all of this all the time at either 48K or 96K sampling rates. There's no trade-off, no choosing between channels or effects, no choosing between latency or processing. For specifying consoles, this no-compromise mentality makes it easy. In the Session Structure panel, you can allocate, modify, and reorder the channels, choose your sample rate, and select some of the basic setup defaults for how your session is built. This rebuilding process takes just a few seconds. Each time you create or load your session, the engine distributes the processing resources accordingly. In an install environment, these sessions can be stored as templates, read-only files that you can load and save as new sessions. In a setting where volunteers or less experienced engineers might be using the console, this gives them easy access to working-based sessions, offering peace of mind and security. These template files can be saved directly from the Save Session panel, making it easier than ever to store templates for your console. The layout of the console is designed to be intuitive and simple with no complicated menus to navigate. It's very much like an analog console would be, with a signal flow from the top of the channel to the bottom. Of course, there's the usual flexibility associated with digital consoles, but as a starting point, the analog-style GUI makes it fast and approachable. It's a touch and adjust philosophy. Touch the appropriate element on the channel and adjust using the assigned encoders. Before we get into the channels themselves, let's set up the I/O. We have some remote stage racks connected, a DiGiCo SD rack and an MQ rack. And to configure these, we use the Audio I/O panel. Connected racks can be configured manually, but we also have an automated process to make this quick and easy. Pressing the single console button auto-discovers all the connected devices and adds them into the session. Racks, cards, inputs can all be labelled in here too, and these names carry over to routing at channel level, so you know exactly what you're patching. The Audio I/O panel also offers audio copy functions for recording and virtual sound checks, or even broadcast splits and a line check mode for adjusting and listening to individual inputs before you patch them into a channel. We also have a full cross-point audio copy matrix. You can send any physical input to any physical output without using up processing channels, but still having access to mic gains, etc. Essentially, a big copy split system built into the head of the I/O system. Within large multi-console and broadcast setups, this reduces the number of third-party bits of kit needed to build a fully integrated audio environment. Jumping over to the input channels, we touch the top of the channel to open up the input patch panel. It shows us all of our connected devices, and it's simple as picking the right input. If we want to patch multiple channels in one go, maybe all the drum mics which are consecutively hooked up to the rack, the ripple function gives us the ability to tell the console how many channels to patch in one go. The input setup panel also gives us mono stereo switching, stereo signal manipulation, polarity controls, and on mono channels, access to our alternate input. Every mono channel can have two patched inputs, main and alt, and we can quickly switch between them. This often is set as main and backup mics. You'll also find our DigiTube here. DigiTube is an emulation of the original DiGiCo tube-based rack input card. It acts much like a classic valve amp. At low levels it's almost linear, but cranking it up results in compression and soft clipping. It's useful for bass DIs which might sound a bit clean, or to add subtle crunch or presence to any instrument. Looking down the channel, you'll notice that all channels on the console are almost identical. This is our standard set of processing options: high and low pass filters, parametric EQ with dynamic EQ available on all 4 bands, a dual dynamics module including multiband compression, insert points, aux sends, group routing, direct out routing, all logically presented and fast to operate. On the buses, that's auxes and groups and matrix outputs, we give you the same channel processing but with a small change. The high and low pass filters on the outputs are switchable to parametric EQ, giving you the choice of filters plus 4 bands of EQ or 8 bands of EQ, 4 standard bands and 4 bands that are switchable to dynamic EQ. On the subject of dynamic EQ and multiband dynamics, there are no limitations to how many of these you can use or where you use them. That's the equivalent of over 150 multiband dynamics modules and more than 600 individual dynamic EQ modules, all in the box without the need for external processing add-ons. As the name suggests, dynamic EQ alters the gain of an EQ band depending on the level of the incoming signal. So changes to tonality with level, maybe the difference between someone's singing voice and their speaking voice, can be compensated for, or it could be used to counteract microphone proximity effect, the rise in low frequencies when a vocalist gets very close to a microphone. Multiband dynamics splits the incoming signal into 3 bands and provides a full compressor for each band. This is useful, for example, on drum buses, where you don't want the low-end energy from the kick to cause pumping on the cymbals. There's lots of uses for it, and as with the dynamic EQ, there's no need to turn to external devices for these specialist effects. They're built right into every channel. And back on the input channels, the aux send panel opens to provide an overview of all of your send points off the selected channel, along with a choice of 6 different send points from the channel and aux pans. If you're using the Klang immersive monitoring system in conjunction with the console, the integrated Klang controls appear here. And on quantum consoles with nodal processing, that's the aux-specific processing mentioned earlier, the aux panel provides the additional controls needed to assign and focus on the nodal processing. Of course, we give you many of the standard features you'd expect to see on any digital console. Aux flip to fader, stereo aux link pans and reverse link pans, the ability to copy mixes between auxes or off the faders, almost too many to mention. But we also provide some less common but useful tools that can improve your workflow and user experience. All buses have a merge input, allowing you to sum any input signal with the bus without using up additional input channels. This is great for summing stems or cascading consoles together. The tone or noise ident feature injects tone or noise directly onto the bus. So checking IEM transmitter outputs or identifying physical lines just got quicker and easier. In addition to the full assignable talkback setup, every aux output has a direct talk function, including a duck for the bus signal. Our flexible engine allows for group-to-group routing and group-to-aux routing. Ultimately, our mix environment is completely feature-rich to allow you to work the way you want. Away from the channels and audio functions, the Quantum 225, as with all DiGiCo consoles, is built to be part of a wider system and offers comprehensive programming and integration features not found on other platforms. From multiple external control options, immersive mixing integration, and the best scene recall system of any live audio console. Starting with our snapshots or scene system, we provide a huge level of control over the saving and recalling of your mix parameters. Our work in the musical theatre market over 20 years has established our platform as the industry leader. And much of the development work carried out in theatre is carried over to our standard live software. The combination of global scopes, individual snapshot scopes, auto and group update systems per parameter, per channel crossfades, MIDI and timecode implementation and channel safes means the console is completely programmable. With sessions potentially running into hundreds of snapshots, it's vital that you have the control you need without it becoming overcomplicated or difficult to manage. It's our theatre heritage and inherent understanding of the manipulation of mixed data that has allowed us to design a system that puts you in control. It's common for engineers to want to remote control the console, and our iPad app offers wireless control over all major mix functions. The free app is simple to set up and provides the freedom to adjust the mix in difficult environments where console placement is less than ideal, or in conference and installation environments where the equipment needs to be hidden away. But beyond this, the Quantum 225 can be controlled or integrated with other platforms. From generic OSC or Huey MIDI to L-Acoustics, Lisa or Ross Video, we offer a wide selection of protocols for you to use. We also integrate closely with Klang, the immersive audio mixing engine. While the Klang system can operate as a standalone system, when hooked up to a DiGiCo, the integration transforms its operation and offers a user experience not matched by any other console manufacturer. Klang's immersive engine adds 3D processing for IEM monitor mixes, allowing you to place sounds anywhere around the listener's head. Our integration puts the control of the 3D space directly on the console channels. The artists could simultaneously have control over their mix, but with the security of knowing their monitor engineer can step in at any time and take control. It offers a truly unique experience, and many artists won't go back to traditional stereo IEM mixes once they've experienced the combined power of Klang and DiGiCo. We hope that this has given you a taste of what DiGiCo offers with the Quantum 225. From its FPGA-based engine to its leading audio quality, the Quantum 225 work surface and feature-rich toolset make it the console of choice for many of the world's top engineers. DiGiCo consoles are built to last, designed for the road, and backed up by the best support and the most passionate team in the industry. Own the room with the Quantum 225. Be your best. Mix on the best. Mix on DiGiCo.